Your pain is not your prison, it's your platform. Welcome to Soft Girl Era, the sacred pause Black women have been waiting for. I'm your host, LeAnne Dolce, pronounced Dolce, like sweet softness whispered in French. I'm your guide from burnout to boundaries, from doing to being, from strong to soft, and loving every second of it. Today, I want to share something with you that came from a conversation I had recently with Ranette Coates, someone who's been doing incredible work in helping women see themselves not just as survivors, but as architects of their own liberation. Ranette Coates is a force, a truth teller, someone who understands that the most powerful revolutions don't always come with loud announcements or fancy degrees. Sometimes they start in a kitchen, sometimes they start with a wound, and sometimes they start when a woman finally says, enough. Renette's work has touched thousands of lives, helping women rewrite the narratives that kept them small, silent, and stuck. She's been instrumental in shifting the conversation around Black women's entrepreneurship, resilience, and the radical act of building from a place of authenticity rather than approval. And what she shared with me challenged everything we've been taught about success, about entrepreneurship, and about what it really takes to build something meaningful in this world. Let me tell you what she helped me see. And I want you to really hear this today because it's not just about business. It's about how we've been conditioned to believe that we need permission, resources, and validation before we can step into our power. And sis, that's just not true. Let me ask you something. How many times have you had an idea, a vision, a dream? And the first thing you did was talk yourself out of it. You told yourself you didn't have enough money. You didn't have the right connections. You didn't go to the right school. You didn't have time. You didn't have support. And so you stayed quiet. You stayed small. You stayed safe. But here's what Ranette Coates helped me see and what I want you to hear today: the most transformative entrepreneurial journeys, the ones that change industries, that shift culture, that rewrite the rules. They don't begin with access to wealth, prestigious networks, or advanced degrees. They begin with necessity. They begin with lived experience. They begin with a desire to solve problems that are deeply personal or community rooted. That's the counterintuitive truth we're unpacking today. We've been sold this lie that success is reserved for those with the most resources or connections, but the reality, it's resilience, authenticity, and a willingness to rewrite the narrative that drives breakthrough innovation and impact. Let me tell you about Lisa Price. Lisa was working in TV production in Brooklyn, and on the side in her kitchen, she started making natural beauty products. Not because she had a business plan, not because she had investors lined up, but because she saw a gap. She saw a need. She saw herself and women like her who weren't being reflected in the beauty industry, and she decided to do something about it. Think about that for a moment. Lisa wasn't sitting in a boardroom. She wasn't pitching to venture capitalists. She was in her kitchen, mixing ingredients, testing formulas, creating something that didn't exist because the world told her she didn't matter enough to be seen. Lisa faced racial discrimination. She struggled to secure funding. The beauty industry was dominated by larger established brands that didn't see her, didn't believe in her, and certainly didn't make space for her. But Lisa didn't wait for permission. She leveraged grassroots marketing, community support, and authenticity. She sold her products at local markets. She built a loyal customer base, one person at a time. She showed up. She stayed consistent. She believed in what she was creating, even when no one else did. And Carol's daughter grew from a home based side hustle into a multi-million-dollar brand that was eventually acquired by L'Oreal. Let me say that again. L'Oreal, one of the biggest beauty corporations in the world, came to Lisa, not the other way around. Lisa's journey began with her passion for natural ingredients and a desire to fill a gap she saw in the market for products that reflected her identity and values. She built a nationally recognized brand, became an icon for Black women in entrepreneurship, and inspired countless others to pursue their own ventures. Carol's daughter's success challenged industry norms and opened doors for more diverse representation in beauty. Lisa didn't just build a business, she built a movement. She changed the conversation. She made space where there was none. Now, let's talk about Jasmine Nelson, known as Jazz. Jazz founded Umber, a company providing solutions for women with PCOS to remove unwanted hair. And this wasn't some market research project, this was her life. Jazz was inspired by her own lived experience, her own struggle with PCOS, and the lack of practical supportive solutions for women like her. Do you understand what that means? Jazz was living in a body that society told her to hide. She was dealing with a condition that so many women suffer from in silence because we've been taught that our pain, our struggles, our bodies are too much, too messy, too inconvenient, too uncomfortable to talk about. She faced the stigma around women's health issues. She faced the challenge of building a business in a niche market that many people didn't even want to talk about. But Jazz focused on authenticity, storytelling, and community building. She created a brand grounded in real needs rather than hype. She didn't try to make her story palatable. She didn't try to make it pretty, she made it real. And that realness is what resonated. Umber won third place in the Bet on Black competition, receiving $50,000 to further its mission and expand its reach. Jazz's story highlights the importance of representation and authenticity in business, particularly for underserved communities. She didn't wait for someone else to solve her problem. She became the solution. She turned her pain into her platform. She turned her struggle into her strength. She turned her wound into her work. And then there's Daryl McKissack. Daryl founded McKissack and McKissack, a leading construction management firm responsible for major U.S. landmarks. She overcame gender and racial discrimination in the male-dominated construction industry, building on a family legacy rooted in resilience. Daryl drew inspiration from her great great grandfather, a master builder who was enslaved, and her father, who guided her early career. Let that sink in. Daryl's great great grandfather was a master builder who was enslaved, a man whose hands built structures he would never own, a man whose genius was stolen, a man whose labor was exploited. And Daryl took that legacy, that pain, that history, and she turned it into something her ancestors could be proud of. She relied on her engineering expertise, mentorship from her father, and a commitment to excellence and diversity. The firm has completed over $15 billion in projects, including the Museum of African American History and Culture. $15 billion. Let me say that again, $15 billion. Daryl built a multi-million dollar company, broke barriers for Black women in STEM and construction, and mentored countless others. Her success has had a transformative impact on representation and opportunity for Black professionals in construction and engineering. Daryl didn't just build buildings, she built a legacy, she built a path, she built proof that what was stolen from her ancestors could be reclaimed, reimagined, and rebuilt by her hands. So, what do Lisa, Jazz, and Daryl have in common? They didn't start with privilege, they started with pain, they started with purpose. They started with a problem that was personal and they turned it into something powerful. And here's what Ranette Coates wants you to understand: you don't need traditional resources to start. Clarity of vision and courage are often the most important assets. Many successful Black women entrepreneurs began with very little, but they leveraged their unique perspectives and determination to build thriving businesses. Your lived experiences and challenges can be the foundation for innovative solutions and businesses. Turning personal or community struggles into entrepreneurial opportunities is a powerful way to create change and success. Community, resilience, and authenticity are essential. Building with and for your community, staying true to your story, and persevering through setbacks are recurring themes in the journeys of Black women leaders who have broken barriers and redefined industries. Now, I know some of you are sitting there thinking, but LeAnne, I'm tired. I've been grinding, I've been surviving, I've been holding it all together. And now you're telling me to start a business? No, sis, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is this: your soft girl era isn't about doing more, it's about doing what matters. It's about releasing the cape, it's about redefining strength, it's about embracing softness while still stepping into your power. Because here's the thing: softness is not weakness. It's a radical act of self love. And when you build from a place of authenticity, when you build from a place of rest, when you build from a place of boundaries, you create something sustainable. You create something that doesn't drain you. You create something that fills you up. Lisa didn't burn herself out trying to compete with L'Oreal. She built something so authentic, so rooted in community that L'Oreal came to her. Jazz didn't hustle herself into exhaustion. She built a brand that honored her story and her healing. Daryl didn't sacrifice her peace to prove herself. She built a legacy rooted in excellence and family. And that's what Ranette Coates is teaching us. That's what this soft girl era is all about. It's about learning to be soft in a world that taught you survival. It's about letting go of hustle as identity. It's about learning to say no without guilt. It's about setting boundaries without apology. It's about resting without explanation. It's about embracing healing, wholeness, softness, and emotional honesty. So here's my question for you: what unique challenge or lived experience in your own life could be the spark for a business or movement that your community and the world truly needs? Take a moment to reflect on how your story could become your superpower. Because, sis, you don't need permission. You don't need a perfect plan. You don't need a big budget. You need clarity. You need courage. You need to believe that your lived experience, your pain, your perspective is not a liability. It's your greatest asset. And when you step into that truth, when you build from that place, you don't just create a business, you create a movement, you create change, you create freedom, not just for yourself, but for every woman who's been waiting for someone to show her that it's possible. So here's what I need you to do right now. Not tomorrow, not next week, not when you feel ready. Right now, I need you to stop waiting for the world to give you permission to be powerful. I need you to stop shrinking yourself to make other people comfortable. I need you to stop apologizing for taking up space, for having needs, for wanting more. Your pain is not your prison, it's your platform. Your struggle is not your shame, it's your story. And your story, sis, is the exact thing someone else needs to hear to believe they can make it too. Lisa started in her kitchen. Jazz started with her own body. Daryl started with her ancestors' stolen labor. And they turned it all into empires, into legacies, into proof that we don't need the system to validate us. We just need to validate ourselves. So I'm asking you today: what are you going to build? What are you going to create? What are you going to say yes to that you've been saying no to because you were scared, because you were tired, because you didn't think you were enough? You are enough. You have always been enough. And the world is waiting for what only you can give. Stop waiting. Start building, not from hustle, but from healing, not from proving, but from purpose. Your soft girl era is not about being weak, it's about being wise enough to know that your rest is revolutionary, your boundaries are beautiful, and your softness is your strength. Now go build the life, the business, the movement that honors who you are, what you've survived, and what you're here to create. The world needs it, and more importantly, you deserve it.